All right, I'll call this emergency meeting to order. This is a meeting to do with the fire restrictions, and I'll let Doug kind of explain what we're up to here.
Sure, thank you, commissioners. I had intended to bring one for myself. There should be, I'll share with you, Commissioner. It's okay.
Have a look at
So for a little background on where we are, that's a little packet I gave you there. There's the first page is the current situation with how many fires we have. And I apologize for those of you online. I don't have the document to post that way, but just a lot of fires out there. If you go to the second page, it kind of shows where we are with precipitation for the year. Obviously not great. The county is essentially divided into two basins where we look at that. Our percent of median is in the 70s. So we have not great precipitation. And then when we look at the fire danger, the current observed is at very high levels. One of the key components that we look at that is the energy release component. ERC is the acronym we use. And those are in the very high percentiles in our region around Helena, the Helena division of the restrictions coordination. We have a plan in which the National Forest, the DNRC, and then state and local cooperators, the BLM, Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, we all look at these numbers to decide, hey, what kind of conditions are we in, and what steps should we take to try to reduce the chance of fire.
That's the standard.
This is the standard. Yeah, these are the standards that we go by, the data that we use to make those decisions. So the ERC, as long as I'm sure some of you are aware with the situation report that I send out, that's one of the key drivers for the decision making. I have a graph in there that it's just a wall showing the ERCs going like this. So it gives you an idea of where we are, and also shows you we're tickling some of the records for this time frame. So things are not great. And that next page is the forecast fire danger. And as you can see, I did neglect to mention, we are in FDRA, which is fire danger rating area. We love our acronyms in this business. 2 is our fire danger rating area, and we're projected to be in extreme level fire danger here shortly. So that's as high as that range goes. And so obviously we're concerned about that. And then the final couple of pages there, the outlook, we've got our temperature outlook for August, and precipitation is both, temperatures are going to be above normal and precip is supposed to be below normal. So that's the situation with where we are right now. We've hit some of the trigger points for our going into stage 1 restrictions. That's a conversation we have with all of our partners. We have those meetings on Tuesday. And so that includes, we participate in 2 different restriction calls because the county is divided. We have the Helena, Lewis and Clark National Forest on one side and the Beaverhead Deer Lodge on the other. So, and then all the other agency cooperators. Long story longer, the Helena, Lewis and Clark, in addition to DNRC, the BLM, and then many of the counties surrounding us are going to be moving into stage 1 restrictions. Well, that's the question. What is stage 1 restrictions? Stage 1 is where we limit campfires to established rings. It's not eliminating campfires. Stage 1 restrictions just eliminates the ability for folks to just go out and have a fire just someplace out in the woods, for example. Of course, that's forest jurisdiction. Private lands or state lands, that would just be building a fire any place that you might feel comfortable with. So all stage 1 does is requires those fires to be within an established ring. The next step beyond that is stage 2 restrictions, and that does eliminate all campfires. And I would say that it's not out of the question that we would get to that point either, at some point in this summer. Of course, I don't have a great crystal ball, and I've been wrong many times before when it comes to stuff like that. So I hope that doesn't happen, but at the same time, it's really important that we try to stay on top of our conditions and prevent fires in the way we can. So with that, my request is that the commissioners would support the resolution for entering into stage 1 restrictions. It would go into effect at essentially midnight Friday night, or at 1 minute after on Saturday morning, which would coincide with when the Helena Lewis and Clark and the other agencies were doing so. Some of the counties are a little bit slower in getting that done. The BLM said indicated they were looking to move into it next week. DNRC would do it at the same time as the Helena Lewis and Clark and the counties. The one difficulty, of course, is we are split. So the Beaverhead Deer Lodge, they're as a forest, they weren't quite ready to go into stage 1 yet. So we would have a divided county, which has happened before. It's not something that is unusual. It just requires some public information for our citizens, so they are aware of where the restrictions are and where they aren't. So I think it's important, and I think we've met the data points for establishing stage 1 restrictions. And so with that, I will ask if you guys have any questions. I'm happy to follow up on anything.
I'm curious, when I saw that email yesterday with Sheriff Dutton, why is he hesitant within a week's time to come around when you're ready to go?
Well, and it's hard for me to speak specifically
No,
to
I
Lewis and Clark
understand.
County. I don't want to speak for them, but I do know that they are, we thankfully, I think because of our size, are a little more nimble. And I think they have certain processes that they go through. I think that's the point that Lewis and Clark County has to, one of their challenges that they deal with is being able to react in a fashion. So fortunately, I feel like Jefferson County, it's one of the benefits of being a small county is being able to react to situations as we need to. So
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Chick or Connor, do you have any questions before we act on this?
Would it be possible for us to not go to a split county, that the entire county go ahead and go under stage 1 of restrictions, even if Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest doesn't do that right away?
So Chick, let me ask to clarify your question. So you're asking if the entire county can go into stage 1? Is that your question?
Essentially, yes.
Right. And so what the county commissioners have authority over here is the private land within and county land within Jefferson County. So it's a jurisdictional question. Steve would probably be a better person to answer it than I, but the Helena Lewis and Clark National Forest, even if we were to go into stage 1 and Helena Lewis and Clark did not, then it would be open on their ground, right? The county commissioners don't have authority, again, by my legal understanding, which is about this big, so take it for what it's worth, to be able to, we can't dictate to the forest what they do on their property.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
And Chick, this is Steve Haddon, County Attorney, and Doug is exactly right. As far as these restrictions go, the commissioners have authority over basically private lands within the county to prohibit like open burning, burning weeds and that type of stuff. Restrictions on campfire, as do they for any county lands. We don't have jurisdictions in incorporated municipalities, which would be Whitehall and the city of Boulder. And then state lands and federal lands fall under the respective jurisdictions of those particular agencies that have the say on those lands. So we have the restrictions in place for all the areas that is under the jurisdiction of the county commissioners to control for Jefferson County. And we kind of have to hope the other fellows other folks come along with us at some point.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great explanation.
Sure, thanks, Jake. And I will say it's a challenge for those public land management agencies because they are very big, right? The Beaverhead Deer Lodge, which was once the Beaverhead and the Deer Lodge National Forest, Helena Lewis and Clark. With regard to Helena, their whole forest is going into it, and that counts all the way up into up on the Rocky Mountain front, right? And so the Beaverhead Deer Lodge has those areas too that go way south of us, and so that's a balance, right? We have a challenge in our jurisdiction with conditions across the county. The forests have those same challenges on different sides. So it's not terribly surprising to me that when one forest agrees or not, but it's just there are lines on a map that have to be drawn, and unfortunately, we end up in the middle of it sometimes. So
Thank you, Doug.
All right, gentlemen, any other questions? Connor, do you have anything?
Yeah, Doug, one quick question. Do you think you could shoot us a PDF of that document you distributed at the start?
absolutely, I'd be happy to. I'll do that right when I go over to the office. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, anything else? All right. Somebody want to make a motion? What's your number? 20?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve resolution 2024, emergency resolution instituting stage 1 fire restrictions in Jefferson County.
Thank you for your motion, Commissioner. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right, unanimous. That is passed. And with that, unless there's anything else for the good of the order, we'll be adjourned. Anybody else that got anything? All right.
See y'all on Monday.
All right, thanks
See
for
you
being
then.
here, everybody.
See you, Steve.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thanks,
gents. Enjoy
everybody.
the weekend.
Thank you all.
Well.